Woj just dropped a huge tweet reporting that the Philadelphia 76ers are sending James Harden and PJ Tucker to the Los Angeles Clippers in exchange for Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, a 2028 first-round pick that's unprotected, and 2 second-round picks, as well as a pick swap. The 76ers have been shopping James Harden for a while, especially after he hasn't played in the first few games of the season for the team and was just kind of holding out, and it was seeming as if he wasn't going to play for them anytime soon, despite reports that he was trending towards playing soon. And it seemed like every time that he had a deadline to be able to play by, it just got pushed back further and further. And now he gets his wish. We all knew that he wanted to go to the Clippers and join up with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George from time. And now he got his wish. And I think an underrated piece in this actual trade package is PJ Tucker, because PJ Tucker is a solid 3-and-D guy, even if he's getting a little bit older. And he is a guy that I think the Clippers could actually use in this trade, especially when you're giving up some guys like a Nick Batum, like a Marcus Morris, like a Robert Covington, because he plays the exact same role as one of those guys. And I think the 76ers were in a bit of a tough spot here because they honestly didn't get a lot back for a guy that's a top 15 to 20, maybe 25 player in the NBA right now. And it's because everybody knew that he wanted to get out of Philadelphia, and the Clippers knew that he wanted to go to LA. So they didn't have any, the 76ers did not have any leverage in this situation, and James Harden had all of it, as well as the Clippers. So to team up James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George was actually a lot easier than we actually thought it would be, just because of the trade demands that he had made and him not showing up to practice and not showing up to the first few games of the season. It just made it a lot easier for the Clippers to get their hands on James Harden. I don't know, maybe my opinions will change in a few days, or once the absolute emotion of this trade kind of dies down. But as of right now, I think this is a definite win for the Los Angeles Clippers, because now you have 3 guys who could potentially be All-NBA or at least All-Star level players in Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden, and you honestly didn't have to give up that much. Of course, you will miss guys like Marcus Morris and Robert Covington, who aren't terrible players and were solid depth pieces for you, and a 2028 unprotected first-round pick is definitely something, especially if these guys end up leaving by then and that pick is valuable. But I think it's worth the risk to get a guy in James Harden that complements your 2 stars well. Now, even if one of your guys is sitting out, then you still have 2 superstars. And the last time that we saw James Harden in a situation where he was with 2 other superstars, of course he was with a superstar in Joel Embiid in Philadelphia, but the last time he was with 2 superstars on the same team, with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they were one big toe of Kevin Durant away from going to the Western Conference Finals, where they would have had a definite chance against the Boston Celtics and probably would have won that series and gone on to the NBA Finals. So James Harden is a definite piece that can push you to a championship. I just don't know if he's a guy that can be the number 1 piece on a championship level team, especially at this age of his career and this point in his career. But to say that the Clippers didn't get astronomically better throughout this trade would be a lie. And I'm really impressed by the Clippers for just going all out and just doing it. Because I had heard reports the other day that they had kind of ceased talks on any kind of James Harden trade and kind of put it on the back burner now that the season had actually come and we were actually playing games. Because I guess they didn't want any distractions, but that might have just been kind of a lie to get the attention off of them and for other teams to kind of back off. Because now they get James Harden for way less than market value is for a guy like James Harden, who last year put up a double-double and is a very solid player still at this point in his career. Maybe he's not going to give you 36 points a game like he once did back in the day, but he'll still be a solid player for the Los Angeles Clippers, and they don't need him to score 30 points a game or even 28 points a game. If he can go out there and facilitate for Kawhi and Paul George and maybe score 22 to 24 points a game on decent shooting while getting 8 to 9 assists a game, that's all they need, because you still have Kawhi Leonard, who is a multiple-time champion, multiple-time finals MVP, and has been to the biggest stages in his career and has proven time and time again that he can take the last shot in big games and can be counted on to make those shots more times than not, like he did in Toronto, like he did in San Antonio. He's done this everywhere he's gone in his career. And for a guy like Paul George, PG went head-to-head with LeBron James when he was younger, and sure, he's maybe not be as explosive now as he used to be, but he's definitely a better shooter, and he's still a superstar in this league. James Harden, I just finished talking about how good he was on the Brooklyn Nets, and even in that series where the Nets lost to the Bucks, he pulled his hamstring, but for the games that he was playing in that series, he was a very solid playoff contributor because he was playing kind of second fiddle to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant obviously had a bunch of great games in that series, but James Harden played his role well in that series, and that's the last time we really saw him in the playoffs, for extended minutes at least. And I'm excited to see where this team kind of goes. And for the Clippers' perspective, I'm glad that they got this trade done early on in the season, because if they did this at the trade deadline, as we saw with a guy like Kyrie and Luka last year, it took some time for them to gel, and they ended up missing the playoffs. They went all the way from the 5th seed all the way to the 11th seed and missed the playoffs. So I'm not saying that would happen for sure in LA, but even if they're sitting at around 500 halfway through the season, maybe 21-20, 22-19, something like that, they still have a chance to bounce back in the second half of the season and rebound and get back to the place where they're a 3, 4, 5 seed or even a 2 seed. And I think this really joins them to the elite in the Western Conference, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Suns, all of these teams. It really pushes them up to that echelon of teams that are fighting for that 1, 2, 3 seed in the Western Conference. And before, people were kind of speculating, how many games is Kawhi Leonard going to play? How many games is Paul George going to play? Will they make moves at the deadline to really go all in on the season? Kawhi and Paul George are getting older, etc., etc. Now, with a third superstar, these guys, even in a game where one of them doesn't suit up, they still have 2 guys that can lead them to a victory. If James Harden is having an off day and Kawhi Leonard is out, you still have Paul George who can give you 35 to 40 points on any given night. And the same goes to the other 2 guys. So I am optimistic for the Los Angeles Clippers going forward, and I think that this could be a really great trade when you look back at it. And it is a really high reward but low risk for them, because at the end of the day, you only give a 1 first-round pick. Whereas if you look at a team like the Timberwolves, they give up 5 first-round picks for a guy like Rudy Gobert. And I know that's going to be the benchmark for every bad trade now or trade or massive trade. And you only give up 1 first-round pick, which obviously they're not going to be stupid enough to give up 5 first-round picks for James Harden, even though he is an incredible player. But you give up a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks and some role players. And you actually got back PJ Tucker, who's actually a solid player, as well as James Harden. And if they end up going on a deep playoff run, maybe even going to a championship or a finals opportunity, this will be looked back on as an incredible trade by them. But even if it doesn't work out and they get maybe to the second round of the playoffs or the first round of the playoffs and lose, they'll look back and be like, well, we still have James Harden for a couple more years, and we can run it back, and we didn't give up our entire future for James Harden. So I am optimistic for them on this trade. And for the Philadelphia 76ers, obviously you don't get back what you hoped to get back. Ideally, you would get back 2 to 3 first-round picks and maybe a solid young player. Of course, you weren't going to get that in this James Harden situation because you had no leverage. However, to pair, you still have Joel Embiid, who is the reigning MVP and still a top 3 to 4 player in the NBA. So you put around him now guys like Robert Covington and Nicholas Batum and all these guys, and you can actually pair them as shooters with Joel Embiid, which is exactly what he needs. And now maybe Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey will be able to go to work a lot more. Tyrese Maxey has been going absolutely crazy early on in the season without James Harden in the lineup, and that's exactly what I predicted him to do in my preseason predictions. And I'm very excited to see how his development goes now, especially with him as a primary ball handler in an offense with Joel Embiid and being able to run the pick and roll with him. So I think he has shown flashes of being a true all-star point guard, and I think he definitely can get to that status this season if he stays healthy and if he is allowed to really run the point guard position, as I think he will be able to. Anyways, let me know your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. God bless you all. I hope you can have an amazing night after this trade, and I hope you have an amazing day tomorrow. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by Christmas. God bless.